start of Western Wanderlust 2018. This is going to be a brief intro here in St. Louis. It's record heat. Heat index is going to be about 105. However, it was just 105 in Denver, so it's going to be warm out in the Rocky Mountains. This time we're staying pretty much closer to civilization, so our loadout and our gear is about a third of what we took last time. Last time the whole idea was to be able to survive a couple weeks if we broke down out in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, we hope you enjoy the video series.
The scriptures say, a man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. 2018 was a year of me planning to do one thing and having to go a completely different direction. On my trip west this year, there was a lot of planning that was done, including acquiring a tent and a comfortable way to sleep. The pickup shell on my truck does not have a lot of headroom, and so you can't sit up in it. The idea with a tent that I could stand up in would be a much more comfortable platform for several months out west. As it was, I never got a chance to use the tent once and ended up returning it in an unopened box. But that's a whole other story. There is another theme, and that has to do with the bravery of the firefighters out west. Fire was a big theme throughout my travels in Colorado. Actually, it prevented doing one of the things that I'd planned to do a lot of, and that was night sky photography. I actually was going to use a Polaris tracking device to track the movement of the stars, to get really low ISO, very sharp images of the night sky. That just didn't happen because there was smoke in the skies everywhere we went. I have photos of that in a little bit. But because of that and being flexible, some really unique opportunities happened, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Well, I might as well talk about the first change of plans and one of the first unique opportunities. When I planned this trip, I was going to stay in Sylvan Lake. It's a state campground in Colorado, nestled in a very beautiful valley. It's got Yeoman Park, Fulford, the Crooked Pass Trail up to Basalt, and it's just a great place to base out of and camp. A comfortable high elevation temperature-wise. When I checked it before I left, there were some campgrounds closed due to fire, but it wasn't listed as closed due to fire. So, tent in hand, all my gear, I headed for Colorado. Well, several things impacted me immediately when I got to that part of Colorado. First, my wife's family is not too far from there, and they're at the age where they might need assistance in the point of being evacuated due to fire. And that was a very real concern with the fire over at Basalt, Colorado. It's called the Lake Christine fire. You may have heard about it on the news. But they were in a situation where the winds were such that leaving the vicinity of my wife's parents while the threat of this evacuation and fire was hanging over the household didn't seem to be smart. So I decided to stay closer to them. I was actually blessed by that decision. A young man that my daughter's close to is an expert in firefighting. He's been a member of a hotshot crew. And as part of our process of monitoring the fire, we went to some of the areas where we could observe where the fire was going. And actually, it gave me the opportunity for some excellent photography. So over several days, I was able to get to some areas where we wouldn't hinder the firefighting, but I was able to take some very interesting photos. Also, staying there, there were some ongoing projects. Because of the warmer climate, the lake on their property had become infested with aquatic plants, and to get it out is a major undertaking. I was able to help them with that. At their ages, they're not able to do that kind of work. And very physically strenuous, good exercise for me. Some of the other family members jumped in to help also. My daughter ended up finishing the project, but with all of our help, we made it so that we got the project done and the lake is clear. You'll see a picture of that in a little bit. But anyway, back to the whole thing is that I had planned to camp, and instead I was working, helping my in-laws, but that was a good thing. Also, because of the faithfulness of trying to do the right thing, I was rewarded with some, excellent interactions, learned a lot, And that's kind of what you get in life sometimes, is you plan one direction, but the Lord directs you in another. Well, this is where the tempo and the travel pick up for the rest of the videos, looking back on 2018. With my relatives' needs met, the fire risk diminished. It was a time for me to be able to break away and pick up the photography and the travel. My next stop was Ouray, Colorado, and that is the next leg of this adventure and the rest of the adventure. There were several other great bucket list opportunities that came along, thanks to some wonderful family and friends.